Hi, I'm Mario Guerra, the two-time former mayor of the great city of Downey. And I'm here with my co-host of Talking Downey, Eric Pierce, the editor of the Downey Patriot. And you're here listening to Talking Downey with Mario
and Eric. Maybe watching Talking Downey. Who knows?
Watching, you're right.
Walking,
listening,
walking and listening.
You know what's funny is I listen to our podcast. I'm like 4 or 5 behind, and I do it when I'm walking. And I cringe sometimes. I'm like, man, I wish I would have said this. Oh, I wish I would have said that.
Oh, really? See, I cringe too, but for different reasons. I don't like my voice.
Oh.
And so I can't listen to myself. I can't do it. No,
great. Well, this is part of it. Part of our podcast is a conversationalist. We always talk about this. We always have great philosophical conversation on and off camera.
Yeah.
So we do that all the time. So this is the last podcast of the year. Okay, it's a couple of weeks, a week and a half before Christmas, and a lot of things been going on in Downey. And Eric and I thought we'd recap the last couple of weeks, and also look forward and do a little teaser about for next year for the podcast, but also about our city. So, Eric, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, you know, there's a lot happening right now in Downey. The funny part, you know, being in December, it's usually pretty quiet.
Yeah.
It hasn't been the case this year. I think the biggest news is that, you know, in Downey, we have a new mayor.
Yeah.
New slash familiar face, Claudia Fermetta. She's replacing Blanca Pacheco, who resigned, is now in the state assembly. You know, we should have Blanca back. We've had her before when she was a candidate, but now that she's in the assembly, maybe once she's settled, we can have her back.
Yeah, absolutely. She's downstairs. We're on the third floor here,
downtown Downey.
In downtown Downey, the building next to Porto's, and she's taken over Christina Garcia's assembly district seat in the offices on the second floor. So she's right below us.
Yeah. You know, Christina Garcia kind of went away kind of quietly.
Yeah.
Didn't she?
Yeah.
Which I guess is fine. I mean, I don't know what else you're supposed to do.
Right.
It was just kind of, it was kind of a shock.
Yeah.
But no, so Claudia Fermetta, new mayor, you know, bring some stability to the city of Downey, some much needed stability. I think what I like about her is that she wants to be mayor. She wants to be that leader right now, especially it's a really critical time for Downey, you know, being in a state of transition. So I'm happy that she's our mayor right now. I think she's the right person.
Yeah, I think it's good for us on there. It's ironic. Mario Trujillo, Councilman Mario Trujillo, nominated her. It was seconded by Hector Sosa, a new council member that adds a lot to the table now. And then it was a 3-1 vote. So Catherine Alvarez voted against her. And then when she was sworn in as the mayor on Tuesday, interesting that Catherine Alvarez did not attend that meeting. So I'm just making obvious statements. So for whatever that means.
Kind of petty, you know, whatever. It's petty, it's tacky. If your council, you know, even if you don't get along with a council member, you know, you don't just show up. It's petty. It's so juvenile.
Because the dais was empty. Her seat was empty. So does that mean you're leaving now? You're resigning now? If not, do your job. You know, that's always kind of my premise. There's a lot of times that you have to show up that you don't look forward to. I don't know if they look forward to it when they know there's a whole bunch of protesters going to be there, but they show up.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I do like that it was Councilman Mario Trujillo who nominated Claudia, because I think that eliminated some of the awkwardness.
Right.
Because I think there was some speculation that, maybe, you know, Mario Trujillo would nominate Catherine to be mayor.
Because he nominated her for mayor pro tem.
Right.
And it was seconded by Blanca.
Right.
So
for that, people thought, you know, but I think that was actually really smart move by Mario to nominate Claudia, nip it in the bud, and then they made Mario mayor pro tem, which makes sense.
And then I think now we have Hector Sosa came on board. I think that added a stability. Here's a stable individual that's paid his dues in Downey, has served at the local level and with our youth, with our groups. You know, Kiwanis, Gangs Out of Downey, West Downey Little League, which I was at, and so forth for many years. So he comes on board and adds stability. I mean, you had before, Sean Ashton, which you never knew what he was going to say or do or vote on. I mean,
Yeah.
he wanted the roundabout. Okay, that's
Right.
all you can say, right? And then Donald LaPlante just kind of came in. It was like a Sean Ashton 2.0, and a little goofy thing on there that he was mad that people have a say at the council meeting.
Yeah.
So you had these facets of it, and then now I think Hector is going to calm things down. I think you can feel it with Claudia and Hector, and you can almost feel that we're getting our council back. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of the residents have a hashtag restore order kind of thing, and they've been doing that. And I think Mario will now see it that that his threesome of Claudia. The threesome, that was with Catherine and Sean Ashton and
Right.
him, the ones that got rid of Gilbert.
Right.
I think they'll now see that, hey,
It's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore, and it's not
Right.
coming back, and the
Right.
residents were doing something about it, if you will.
Right.
So
And Hector, talking about Hector, he's a big community guy.
Yeah.
And I've known him for several years
Yeah.
through community organizations, which I think is your ideal, city council person, somebody who's part of the community, not somebody who just is moving in for the sake of running.
Right.
I've always known Hector to be, non-political. He's somebody who really kind of he takes a measured approach to things.
Right.
Really smart guy, nice guy, and he, I think you and me agree in terms of we want council members who are going to make decisions for the right reasons, for what's best for the Downey
Right.
community. Even if we don't necessarily agree with those decisions, we want them to come from the right place.
Right,
And
right.
I think they do. I think Hector really comes from the right place.
Yeah, no, I'm excited on there. I take a certain pride too. Is remember, I served that district for 8 years, and before me, Meredith Perkins. So,
Yeah.
we're these old timers that love the district. But the other thing that I think Hector and Claudia will also do is, while we represent this district, we need to vote what's in the best interest of the whole city.
Yeah.
So many times I didn't care that it was District 2 or District 5 or District
Right.
3 or whatever. You just do for the city if the city's going forward, So
Absolutely.
there's a certain sense of pride that, okay, you're not my seat, but you're
Right.
now representing the same thing. I didn't
Right.
get that with Sean Ashton.
Yeah.
And I wasn't proud of that. So now
Right.
there's something to be proud about too. So
What's funny with Sean Ashton, I feel like when he was first elected, his big thing was the streets. He wanted to repair the streets, and he was a teacher. So I think he came across like as a very likable, blue collar type of person. And then that kind of changed over the years. He became very political. And you're right, you didn't know what way he was going to go. And then it just ended. When he resigned, it just ended.
there wasn't even this last Tuesday would have been the day that you could say goodbye, the transition.
Yeah.
Not even a mention. Nobody mentioned that, and he didn't get a mention when he left. But he also did. He took advantage of every perk that office had. Okay, I mean, from having cheeseburgers ordered for himself on there just because he was coming into the office that the city would pay for. It's like, what? I mean, you have to eat anyways just because you're going into the office there. And then, I mean, he went to China on a first-class trip, him and his wife, that was paid for by this company, and the city attorney kind of said, don't do that.
Yeah.
And he still did, never reported it. So there's a lot of shady stuff there that I think he took advantage of every perk that's available to a city council. So I was disheartened by that. It's like, when you mentioned the blue collar
Right.
thing, blue collar folks and stuff don't do that kind of stuff.
Right,
They just
right.
they're honest, a little bit more integrity about things. So, but
Art,
anyway.
what do you think is going to happen? So now we have a vacancy now for District 1 with
Yeah.
Blanca gone. The city council can appoint somebody. I think they're going to try to appoint somebody. And I have my opinions on this. They're going to try to appoint somebody, but there's also going to be a special election next November.
Next November.
What do you think? Do you think the city council will appoint somebody?
I think they kind of ruled last week they wanted to.
They want to.
For the next 11 months. Now, the problem with that I see is if they're going to do somebody that's not going to run, then, if you really need to fill that seat,
Right.
okay? But I think it's unfair to put somebody in there that's going to run for office, because you basically have the council now picked somebody to run.
Right.
You know, to be there, because you do have a power of incumbency when you're there. So depends on what they're going to do. They obviously have the right. I think they chose that option instead of appointing somebody for 2 years and waiting for the election.
Right.
I think that that if they do it the right way, I think it's fine to fill it up, just kind of like they did with Donald LaPlante.
Right.
It was a short-term type of thing, but you know, they didn't make it very clear last time whether you could run or not. They asked the question, but Donald LaPlante could run. He just didn't want to run because he had never ran a campaign.
Sure.
You know, but if he would have been able to get a stay appointed, he's told everybody that he would have stayed in office. You know.
You know, I feel like there's a couple of different factors, because I think it's important to know that this person who's appointed is going to play a critical role in choosing the next city manager for Downey.
Right.
A huge responsibility for anybody, let alone somebody who's brand new to the council, who doesn't really know what they're doing. That's a big decision. And so I can't, in a perfect world, you would have somebody in District 1 who has no interest in running for office, but is experienced in local government and knows how the process works. I can't think of anybody who can do that. I've heard a few names kind of mentioned, people who are going to apply, but their intentions is to run for office again in November. And you're right, they're going to have an advantage. I don't know. I can't think of somebody who would be the right person, the right fit right now. Right. I also don't know if the city council, the 4-person city council, will agree on somebody. Right. I'm leaning towards leaving that seat vacant. Right. That's my.
And under the current situation, I wouldn't disagree with you. I really wouldn't disagree. I think that also, you said the big point about appointing the next city manager. I don't think Catherine's qualified, and God willing, on January 31st, she'll be out. I think they have to, they may be further down, because I know the applicant pool had been closed last week for the city manager. So I can't think that Catherine would have an input on that, because she hasn't been in enough council meetings or enough decisions on there. You know, Hector has a business background and involved in the city, so he's a little bit better, at least from an experience standpoint, than most new council people. But basically, Claudia and Mario are the ones that are going to be driving that. Right. So I've heard of some great applicants, some good city managers in other cities that have applied. But only because our council has stayed stabilized. Right. When they asked me 6 months ago, they said, "Oh, there's no way they wouldn't come in here the way the council was, and the goofiness of it, and the chance to get fired like Gilbert Levis did." By the way, I saw him last night. He came for Martha Sototani's thing. I don't want to get sidetracked. So I do agree with you. Picking the next city manager is huge, and that's happening right now. Right. And it'll probably happen before the recall of Catherine Alvarez on January 31st. So that could be kind of weird.
So no, that's interesting. So you think in the next few weeks then they're going to choose?
Well, they're going to be interviewing, and I mean the bringing in the pool or the RFP part, that's already been closed. Right. So now they're interviewing those candidates from, and they don't have to actually hire somebody, but I understand there's a few that are good candidates that have experience as city managers. Sure. That would be possibly a good fit for Downey.
It's interesting too, because I've heard some names also. I'm sure that this thing, we're not gonna say any names.
No, we're not, of course.
But these are people from other neighboring cities, and it's interesting that Downey, despite what's happening, or because of the last election, Downey is still a desirable city. To work in, which I think is a very positive sign. Right.
I don't think we were 6 months ago. I think this election calmed things down. I think the next 2 elections on there, when Catherine Alvarez gets recalled, I think that whoever runs for office, there'll be a pool. And I have stayed away from talking about potential candidate because one thing, focus at a time. When the committee asked me, I said, just focus on getting her out of office, because she doesn't deserve to be there. So don't talk about candidate, because then you're making about the next candidate. Right. It should be whether she's worthy to sit there, and we know that she's not. Right. So that's kind of, but you're right. Downey's good enough that even with all this turmoil, so anyways, I think Operation Restore Order is well on its way.
Yeah. Well, there's gonna be a lot more coming in soon. With
Right,
the city
right,
manager and
right,
the
right,
recall
right,
and
right,
District 1.
right.
There's so moving parts
Right.
there.
But you know what? The election that happened in November, there was the best Christmas gift that the city of Downey could have gotten.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it started the stability. I'm excited. That's a good thing.
And so look, like here's the thing. Downey's been, in transition, however you want to term it, and I think the city council has the right to move that city in whatever direction they see.
Sure, they got
fit.
elected.
If they want another city manager because they feel they want to take the city in another direction, that's within their rights. The whole problem has been that there's been no communication in what's happening. Why was Gilbert Levis forced to resign?
Right.
Why? There's no clear answer to that,
Right.
and that's what bugs me. If it was, just a philosophical difference in opinion, I think we're adults and you deal with it. But there hasn't been any kind of communication to that effect, and that's the part that really I think kind of bugs me. Everything's being done behind closed doors.
Right. And look who made the decisions, too. You think that there was the 3 majority to be able to force
Sure.
him out. So look at that, and 2 out of the 3 just aren't very bright, and they follow along with what the other one was leading. But anyway,
It gets political.
So let's talk about good stuff, okay? Because again, this is the time to get together. Last night I attended going away celebration memory lane type of thing for Martha Soditani from the Downey Unified School District.
Yeah.
She was elected the year I was I was elected 2006 for the Downey City Council. She was elected in 2005. And this is her last, she just
Sure.
finished her term. So what a beautiful lady, what a kindred soul and spirit. They talked about, her and her husband were very big in adopting, in foster children and adopting children, and they've done that through all their lives. She taught a class at Long Beach State to how to work through that and stuff. And I just thought, it's the kindness, okay?
Yeah.
The kindness of her and in our community is special, and I think that it came through last night, and I was really happy to be there.
Yeah, I couldn't make it. Unfortunately, I was stuck in the office. But I don't think many people know the extent of what Martha Soditani does, because she doesn't brag about it. She doesn't post about it on social media.
Yeah.
But what she's such an advocate for the foster care system and for children.
Right.
And she doesn't just talk it. She walks it.
Yeah.
She does it. And few people know about it. And she has such a genuine, caring heart.
Yeah. So one of the things that was mentioned by somebody else last night. So one of the children that her and her husband adopted was an African American little girl, right? So they thought it was so important for her not to lose her roots and her culture that they changed churches from Downey Methodist here to a church in L.A., more in the African American community, and that's where they went on Sunday so she would not lose her culture growing up. And I thought, wow. Who thinks of that stuff? What a beautiful, beautiful gesture. So, the lady, again, something she did when my wife Ann had a knee surgery. Okay, the next day that she was home, she brought dinner to our house from Lazy Dog on there, so that way Ann wouldn't worry about feeding Ryan. It's like, oh my gosh, I was almost embarrassed she did it, but what a gracious, beautiful act and stuff. So, but
she is. She's special. And the school board's not going to be the same without her. But I'm happy that she's going into retirement.
She deserves it. She deserves it on there. Something else that came out of that's true. We have 4. The school board. We've all made fun of that in a nice way. Over so many years, they've had the same school board, right? And it used to be one election that'd be the men would be up for election, and then the other one the women would be up. So now there's 4 new school board members that have kids in the school district. So I was talking to some of the staff, and they said that's great. It comes from a different perspective. It keeps them on their toes more now, and stuff. But I thought that was interesting. I hadn't.
I never thought about that before. But it makes total sense to have school board members with kids in the district.
Right.
Like currently, it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that it happened.
Yeah.
We should mention Martha's replacement is Tyrone Conde. which we know a little bit. He works at Downey Federal Credit Union, and seemed like a nice guy. He had it easy because he ran unopposed, and so he
And so did Linda.
Mhm.
Okay, and then
Right.
you had when Jose Rodriguez was running in the last election, there was 3 people running.
Yeah.
When Gigi Saab there was running, there was 2 or 3 people
Oh,
running.
yeah.
So it almost seems, I mean, it's not their fault, but it almost
No.
seems unfair. You know, Linda
Oh,
and him
yeah.
put their name in, nobody ran against them, and that's good because we know
Right.
they were good people.
Right.
But we could have lost some good people if the other ones didn't win. You know?
Absolutely. So some new faces on the Downey School Board.
Yeah. So that makes for a good thing. So it was festive. So now we're talking, getting ready for the new year.
Yeah.
Okay, in the city. So we'll tease you that we have some great ideas, some great thoughts for next year. I think we're going to get an elevated Talking Downey. We're going to be more outside. We're going to have more guests. We're going to go be on site more. We have a new crew, a new team on there. So I'm kind of excited about it.
I am too. You know, we've been talking about ways to, our goal is to reach more people, or as many people as we can, because Downey's just 111,000 something people.
115 now. Under census, yeah.
So not that everybody's going to want to listen, to Talking Downey, but we can reach, there's a lot of people. So we're looking to expand our presence on social media, on the internet, and we're trying to get out there.
Right. I've heard one of, I think Hans or Brandon told us there, we've had 20,000 views or above that now, and so it's kind of fun. And we're celebrating our first year. We're going into our first year, thanks to Financial Partners Credit Union for being our lead sponsor. So, anyways, so stay tuned for that. This next couple of weeks, you're going to see some changes in the downtown. Eric and I are very involved on there. Eric not only is a resident of downtown Downey, and we're sitting in my office here in downtown Downey, but we're very involved with the business district here. Which has decorated downtown Downey very nicely.
Very nice.
Porto's downstairs. You can have your picture taken with
Yeah.
all the Christmas stuff. But on there, we've heard from the city that the K rails on Downey Avenue and some of those parklets are coming down on December 31st. That's what the council voted about 2 years ago. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's time.
Yeah.
I think it's time. There was definitely a need for it, obviously, in 2020. I think, I'm not opposed to parklets in general, but I think there has to be some standards, maybe some uniformity there. I enjoy eating outside and being outdoors. I think that's great, but I think, you need some regulation, you need some rules, and you have to get that together first. Right now, it's kind of a mishmash right now. So I'm happy that it's happening. I'm hopeful at some point we can get some more outdoor dining in Downey. I'm not sure what that would look like, but overall, I think it's time.
Yeah. It's for those K rails are ugly. I think it blocks on there. I think when you put banners or posters on it, again, we all wanted to help businesses 2 years ago when they were struggling, but now it just looks tacky.
Right.
It can't continue to look that way. I know that the Downtown Improvement District is looking to do night markets on every other Thursday night and literally shutting off the street. So that could be fun and exciting.
That's going to be very fun. I think that's going to be coming early 2023.
Yeah.
And that's something to look forward to. I mean, it'll be basically a sort of a farmer's market with vendors and all that good stuff, but at night.
Yeah.
And you'll be under the stars, and I think they'll be a really fun addition to downtown Downey.
Yeah, and there's going to be 4 or 5 things in this area: new buildings, new type of restaurants on there.
Yeah.
You had at the corner, you got a Bella at the corner of Third and Downey Avenue. Just half a block away, we're going to have the Ojos Locals on there. And next to it, believe it or not, there's that margarita place on there that's opening up.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious what that is and how that's going to play.
And I can share now that the Downey Patriot is moving to downtown Downey.
Oh, I did not know that.
So the Downey Patriot, this is its 20th year.
Breaking news. Where's it going to be at?
It's going to be on the corner of Downey and 3rd. Where Richard Mortuary.
Oh yeah,
used to
sure,
be, where we're taking part of that building. The Patriot.
Yeah.
The Patriot is.
Well, you're the editor of the Patriot.
Yeah,
so
but this is Jennifer Decay, owner of the Downey Patriot. She sees the value in downtown Downey, and she's seen over the years the changes and the excitement and it seems appropriate to be part of the downtown Downey.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be happening early.
That's great.
Early next year. You know, the Patriot. I'm sorry, I'm kind of really
sure.
brief history. When the Patriot started in 2002. The first office was over at Downey Adult School in the locker room, the old boys locker room, and from there it moved over to the YMCA.
To the YMCA, that closed down building. I remember used to going in there. It
Downey and Arnett.
That was depressing.
It was depressing. So now it's over in Downey and Florence, and so it's exciting to be coming to downtown Downey. You know, I'll tell you, last Saturday, so I was here in the office working in the morning. And then from here, I walked over to the farmer's market, and then I had lunch at Porto's. And then that night, I went over to the Mariachi Divas concert
at the Downey
Theater. And then I didn't realize it, but the next day I was thinking, you know, I spent the entire day in downtown Downey. I didn't need a car. It was walking. It was very pleasant. Wow. It was nice from morning to night. Yeah. Everything that I needed in downtown Downey.
Wow. So seriously, you were the vision that Roger Brosmer and I, when we were dancing, that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted you to be able to stay here. And when there's some new housing, I know you owned a condo close by, and it's perfect. You're right. Now you're going to have your office here too.
It's downtown. It's downtown living. It's perfect.
Yeah, very cool. You know, so when you mentioned the Patriot, the old days. So one of the things that Martha Sotitani said last night was very nice of her. She acknowledged me and so forth. She says that first time she met me, it was John Adams' funeral. So Jennifer and all of you guys on there had asked me if I would be, as a clergy, celebrate his, lead the funeral service for him. And I knew him, and so forth. And Martha said she did a reading there in the service. She goes, that's the first time I ever met you. And to be honest with you, I had forgotten that. Yeah. I mean, I knew that I did it. And John was at the same home that my mom was at, and I saw them and so forth. God rest him. And you guys were family. He didn't really have any other family per se. And stuff.
But it's funny though that it's very sweet that Martha remembered that.
She did. That's what I'm saying. It's like, sometimes in life you live the moments and they're special, then you forget. And then the older I get, we have the same thing. I hope my kids won't listen to this, but that's what happens sometimes with our adult kids. It says, Dad, do you remember when you did this and that, and we did this? That was one of our great memories that we did this and that. And then I went through. I was like, oh, I don't remember that, right? It. But now we've learned, because they're disappointed if we don't remember. Yeah. And we're like, so a little while, like, oh my gosh, of course we do. And because you don't want to make them feel bad. So don't listen to this episode. We're not going to let my kids know that.
It would be funny if kids don't listen to your podcast.
Yeah. I think only half of them do anyways right now. But
it's funny though, because now with social media, you get those reminders. Because, you're always taking photos and you're posting it. Yeah. You get those reminders. I think maybe that, maybe 20 years from now,
it is, and you're right. And now that we see that, in this time of year is like the swearing ins, whatever. So, I mean, something that's coming up that's very personal to me on there, it comes up December 21st every year, is when we first got here from Cuba. I came on the Viaje de Libertad, the Freedom Flight's the third one on December 21st. So that's always a big milestone. So I always make sure that the kids remember, because you're here because of that date and what my parents, sacrificed. And, for me, I celebrate my life here in the United States because, birth Cuban, American by choice and by who I am. So it's a very special time of year for us all.
You can never be president, Mario.
I can never be president. Okay. All right. So we are sponsored by Financial Partners Credit Union. Nader is the CEO of Financial Partners. I was in a meeting and one of his board members, Eve Pinkowitz. So we were actually having a glass of wine, okay? We weren't driving. It was a conference off-site, so we were staying there in Ojai. And the three of us were on the side of this meeting, and we said the same thing, because Nader wasn't born here and Eve was born in Israel. So we all three said, oh my gosh, we can never be president of the United States. So we all got sad, and we toasted to it in the whole bit, and then we said,
sad that you can never
be president. Not that at my age I'm going to become president now. On there, but the one thing we said, well, why don't we start our own country that we can be president of? So that night, on the second glass of wine, we decided we're co-presidents. And every year we've written a better constitution. So the three of us are co-presidents of the country of Catalina. Okay. So, and we have fun with that. We take our photos every year at Christmas time.
Yeah.
We're co-presidents. Shoes are optional at our country. Okay. Then we made Alex Saab the Attorney General. Okay. We're still looking for a Secretary of State.
Okay.
And, you know, we declared war on the United States. And then we surrendered about 2.5 minutes later because now that way the United States would have to defend us, right? Because now we're part of their territory. Anyways, the silliness of it. But every year when we get together, we add to that, you know.
If you get a knock on the door from the FBI, you know, it was because they were listening.
We're
to
co-presidents.
And you declare war on the United States.
And the country of Catalina was close by, so our entourage didn't have to travel. We've never been to Catalina.
No.
So anyways, but it's kind of funny you said it. You're right. I can't be president, but I don't want to be president. I want our country to be the best it could be. Period.
There you go.
Oh, that was a non-political part. Yeah, I like that.
Mario, it was been a great 2022.
It has been a great year, man.
I'm looking forward to 2023.
I've enjoyed every minute of it with you. You and I butt heads. You and I have different philosophies. You and I have different personalities. But we agree with our love for Downey. We agree our love for people and the righteousness of trying to help others and what needs to be done to try to help others. So we just agree sometimes on how to get there. But bottom line, it's the goodness of folks that make our community special.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that about Downey, and I love that about you. And over there we have Brandon. It's our new technical director, and we have Hans Fritz, our executive producer. And folks, on behalf of Eric and I and the Talking Downey crew, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and great things. See, we found our decoration. Pretty.
This is the extent. If you're listening, it's a tiny silver Christmas tree,
6-8 inches long.
Yeah, and that's the extent of the Christmas decorations in here.
What do you want from me? I have a whole country to run, to co-run,
you
know.
go.
So anyways, folks, God bless you. I hope you've enjoyed it. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to see the thoughts and concerns. Who would you like to have us as guests? We have a whole list for next year of interesting guests that we're going to have here because we do want to hear from the community. But let us know storylines, points. Even if you have an event for one of your groups that you'd like us to at least mention and publicize a little bit, we'll be more than glad to. So thanks for listening. Thanks for staying with us. And we look forward to a beautiful 2023 together. So signing off, Talking Downey with Mario
and Eric.